Today we're going to talk about fatigue. A lot of people are tired, but you have to realize that fatigue and being tired is a symptom. It's not the root cause. And so if you treat the symptom, you're never going to get better. And this is why so many people taking the energy drinks and trying to stimulate their body with more caffeine, they just make themselves worse. If you can identify the root cause of your fatigue, you can easily get rid of it. All right, number one, let's talk about insomnia fatigue. Now, there's many different reasons why people can't sleep. Maybe they're getting up several times a night, urinating. Maybe they have sleep apnea where they can't breathe. Maybe they have cramps in lower calves. Maybe they have restless leg syndrome. So the problem with not sleeping is that it's going to really affect the cognitive function, especially if someone's talking to you. You're going to have a hard time keeping your attention because the cognitive function's not there. The other thing you need to know about a lack of sleep is it really, in a severe way, affects your blood sugar. So you're going to want to snack more. You're going to crave the wrong foods. For insomnia, you want to go for long walks every single day without your cell phone in nature. And I find that I can sleep much better after a long walk. Before bed, I would highly recommend doing a lot of stretches. I would also keep your lights dimmed very nicely. But the worst thing you can do is snack before you go to bed. So you have to eliminate that. Let's go to number two, blood sugar fatigue. If your blood sugar is going up and down and up and down, you are going to be tired, but not for the reason you think. It's really because your cells are starving for fuel, despite having a lot of food available. If you just take a look at a diabetic, what is a diabetic? It's someone who has high blood glucose. But the problem is that glucose becomes very unavailable to the cell. That's why a lot of diabetics are tired, because you develop this resistance to sugar. That's called insulin resistance, is the resistance to insulin, and of course the resistance to glucose, which is the fuel that's supposed to give you energy. You can't get that in. So you're literally starving to a certain degree of fuel. You definitely will feel a need to take a nap about 2 hours after you eat, usually because you're eating sugar or hidden sugar as starch, like pasta, rice, bread, things like that. The simple solution for this one is just to completely cut out all the carbs. And so you just really need to go low carb and then not eat so frequently. So in other words, just avoid the snacks and you will find that your energy will just come right up. Number three, slow thyroid fatigue. People that have a hypothyroid condition are going to be tired. Why? Because the thyroid hormones, specifically we have T3. So T4 converts to T3. T3 is the active form. T3 goes into your mitochondria. That is the energy factory. And it controls the number of mitochondria and the amount of ATP, which is the energy currency of the body. And so certain things will be turned off and just the necessities will be on. Your body might turn down temperature. So you have cold feet because that takes a lot of energy to heat the body. 90% of hypothyroidism is autoimmune. Usually people know when they have a thyroid problem, but selenium is for the autoimmune thyroid, and usually iodine and zinc are for a non-autoimmune thyroid problem. Next one is histamine fatigue. Now, histamines are a neurotransmitter. I'm not going to get into the woods with it, but all you need to know is certain populations have more histamines, and that can be aggravated by certain foods that you eat, and that's going to overstimulate your brain and make you tired. This type of exhaustion is going to be more of like you're irritated and you're tired. You can't relax, but this is more like an allergy fatigue. You might have a thick or heavy sinus issue. You might also feel like your blood pressure is too low, and you definitely can't sleep. The foods that are high in histamines, like cheese, smoked meats, fermented foods, unfortunately, all of these foods will make you tired after you eat them. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high-quality supplement line, but if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information. Next one, number 5, is latent virus fatigue. Certain viruses go into the body and they don't actually die. They go into a dormant state. That's called a latent state. So with a latent virus that gets reactivated, you're going to get a draining of your immune system, which is going to be very tiring. Definitely you're going to have post-exertion fatigue, usually 24 hours later. So you worked out today, you might even feel fine, but then tomorrow you just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just like completely exhausted. What's going to activate this is some type of stress. Other things that can bring it on are low vitamin D levels. Eating too much junk food can do it. So with this one, I always tell people you must do something to reduce your stress. Whether it's going on vacation, a lot of vitamin D, you need to take at least 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3. Make sure it comes with the vitamin K2 and magnesium. Number 6, salt and potassium deficiency fatigue. What's interesting about salt, or let's just say sodium, okay, and potassium, is that there is a pump in your body called the sodium potassium pump that actually helps you generate voltage and electricity to power the nervous system and the muscle. So if you're deficient in either sodium or potassium, you're going to be tired, especially in your muscles. You're going to lack that get up and go, especially if you do any type of exertion. Why? Because you no longer have the charge in your battery. Your battery is dead. And this is why when people take more potassium, they have all this energy. Usually between both of these, a person's usually more deficient in potassium than salt, unless they're on a ketogenic diet, in which case, when you go low carb, sometimes you flush out your salts and you need to increase your salt, or you're going to get keto fatigue. And with keto fatigue, you're going to feel weak. And when you take that salt, boy, it just perks you up. But typically, because people require so much potassium, way more than salt, like 4,700 milligrams, usually people just aren't consuming that much. They're probably not eating 4 or 5 avocados a day or big salads. So by taking more potassium, whether from food or an electrolyte drink that's high in potassium, you can dramatically increase your energy. And the other thing you need to know is when you're consuming a lot of refined carbohydrates, you're depleting your potassium right down to zero. Next one is number 7, low oxygen fatigue. This is fatigue that comes from anemia. Now, there's a couple different kinds of anemia. You have iron deficiency anemia. You have low B12. If you don't have enough iron, if you don't have enough B12, protein in your blood, in that red blood cell, cannot carry oxygen. So if you can't have oxygen, then the last step of making energy in the mitochondria can't work. In many cases with anemia, unless you are a female that is menstruating, losing blood, that's when I would give that person iron from red meat or liver pills. Most people with anemia are lacking copper. That's right, copper, because copper helps regulate iron. But I'm just bringing this up because it's not just a simple answer of just take more iron to get more energy. Too much iron is really bad for the body, so you don't want to do that. Even in some situations, and I'm going to bring this up as a kind of exception, if you don't have enough stomach acid, if you have heartburn, acid reflux, and you're tired, what you need to do is take betaine hydrochloride as a supplement, and probably maybe 5 or 6 of them before each meal. Not only would your digestive problems vanish, but you can get your energy back. And so I didn't include that on the list, but a lack of stomach acid can also make you tired. All right, number 8, low magnesium fatigue. That's right, magnesium deficiency can cause fatigue. We normally think about a magnesium deficiency as a cramp or tight muscles or insomnia, you can't sleep. And so many people are tired because they don't have magnesium, and they don't even have a clue because it's really hard to test for magnesium. A typical blood test looks at magnesium in the blood, but most of magnesium is inside the cells, so they're going to miss it if they do a typical blood test. It's difficult to determine if you're magnesium deficient unless you know how to test it. Most people are deficient, and magnesium is super important in a lot of different things. And so the solution is to take magnesium glycinate. I like taking it before bed because it helps you relax, helps the muscles, helps you go to sleep. Number 9, low B1 fatigue. B1 is one of the helper nutrients to extract energy. Eating too much carbohydrates, they create a deficiency of B1, and now they can't use that fuel. That fuel is usually shunted to make fat, but it's not used to make energy. So they're going to be tired. One of the most common symptoms of a B1 deficiency is nervous energy or nervous tension. And what's happening is they're getting a lot of lactic acid that builds up in the body. So that's going to affect the breathing because their pH is more acidic. If someone consumes a lot of carbs, refined carbs or sugar, and then they feel fatigue afterwards, suspect a B1 deficiency. The type of B1 I would recommend after correcting the diet, this is called L-thiamine. It's from garlic. All right, let's talk about this one right here. No sun fatigue. Am I saying that a lack of sun will cause fatigue? Yes, absolutely. Over 50% of the sun's energy is infrared. It goes into the mitochondria. It helps your mitochondria make more energy. But without the sun, you can be very, very tired. I mean, just take a look at any person that is inside way too much. They're sitting in front of their computer, they're exposed to all this artificial light, and they don't get out there and get sun. Wow, they're going to be tired. Vitamin D deficiency will make you lethargic, apathetic. A lack of vitamin D will cause inflammation or pain in the lower back that radiates to your hips and definitely your thigh muscles. So any type of pelvic discomfort or achiness, I would suspect a vitamin D deficiency. Number 11, mold, allergies will totally make you tired. I have a lot of information online. I don't want to get into the specifics, but if you suspect mold growing in your house, you're going to have an immune reaction, and that is going to suck a lot of your energy out. I just also want to mention just inflammation in general will make you tired. If you have inflammation from an autoimmune disease, I'm going to put a link down below of what diet I recommend you should be on for inflammation. But just in general, you can get rid of a lot of inflammation just by increasing your vitamin D up to about 20 to 30,000 IUs every single day. Make sure when you take vitamin D, you're taking K2 and magnesium, because without that, it doesn't work. Let's go right to number 12, long COVID. A lot of people are tired because of long COVID. This is an immune problem. The immune system is constantly overworking and it's draining a lot of your energy. It's the feeling of being unwell, brain fog, decreased tolerance to bright lights or loud sounds, or even like stress in general. You get overwhelmed very easily. Some of the remedies that I recommend for long COVID, something called NAC, which is like a precursor to make glutathione, which can help your liver, a good amount of vitamin D3, magnesium glycinate. Zinc is very important as well, and also coenzyme Q10. And then now let's get to number 13, low protein fatigue. Your mitochondria, which is the energy factory of the cells, depend on sufficient amount of amino acids. And this is pretty wild because this is not a fuel problem. You might have enough carbohydrates or fats as fuel. You just don't have enough protein. You see, so many things in your body require protein that go completely beyond fuel. You need the amino acids to allow the enzymes to work, your ability to make antioxidants, your ability to repair. You have all your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments. All of this requires amino acids. This affects your brain because your brain's going to feel toxic. You're going to be tired. Or you're not going to get enough amino acids for the reparative actions. But one of the biggest indicators for this is post-exercise fatigue. You put that much demand on the body and you're just going to crash and burn after you exercise. You will not have any endurance. What this particular person really needs is a lot more high-quality animal protein, like red meat, with every meal. This is going to pull them out of it, and also lower carb. And then lastly, let's talk about this, adrenal fatigue. I've done a lot of videos on this. The adrenal gland is the gland on top of the kidneys. You have two of them, and they are the glands that react to stress. One of the specific things with adrenal fatigue is you're just dragging all day long. Right around, like, I'd say between 3:30 and 4, boy, you could take a nap. But usually as the night goes on, all of a sudden you start waking up. So everything is backwards with your circadian rhythm. You're probably going to be craving salt, and actually taking more salt will help you. So more sea salt will actually calm the adrenals down and you'll actually sleep better. So you might need a good electrolyte powder with potassium to help recharge the adrenals, because with an overactive adrenal, you'll be depleted of potassium as well. Taking ashwagandha on a regular basis can greatly help the adrenals. I don't recommend doing high intensity exercise before bed, but I do recommend long walks, hikes in nature without that cell phone. So I hope you're now much more enlightened on fatigue and what you can do to reverse it. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high quality supplement line, but if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information.